65342 on Mount Vernon visual, runway 1.
Push 5342, Washington Tower, 1 star, 320 17, got 25. You check runway 33?
Yeah, we can do 33 for Blue 6342.
Runway 33, clear to land.
Change to runway 33, runway 33 for land, Blue 6342.
American 3130 for the final.
Well, American 3130.
That's a trip inside official separation.
This difference group. Pass 25, this is WRG in flight. Pass 25, pass 1, this is WRG.
It's about has a aircraft inside official separation.
Difference. American 472, pass 1, visual. American 472, Washington Tower, 1 star, 32017. Did you see that? American 472. American 3130, go around, turn left in 250, climb maintain 3000.
Yep, we saw it. And everybody just hold your positions, please, on the field right now.
Fire command.
Fire command. The accident happened in the river. Both the helicopter and the plane crashed in the river. It's east of the approach end of runway 33.
There was some buzz that there was something happening involving police response, but we weren't quite sure what it was.
I was reporting a CRJ and a helicopter crash into the Potomac River.
Ops advised there's a helicopter in the water been found by boats retrieving injured. They're looking for the aircraft at this moment.
We saw so many flashing lights.
I started hearing a lot of fire trucks.
That sound of like the siren and cops and firefighters and ambulances felt like it was echoing off the Potomac that night.
There are boats screaming by us.
We later heard that there was some sort of aircraft involved.
This is from an observation camera at the nearby Kennedy Center.
When I saw that EarthCam video of the fireball, I said to myself right away, that's an aircraft that was destined for DCA, and these are lives that are potentially lost. Good evening, I'm Michelle Marsh. Major breaking news tonight as we come on the air. A regional passenger jet and an Army helicopter collide, crashing into the Potomac River.
I don't know if I was watching TV or listening to the radio, and they said there had been a crash at Reagan National, and it became pretty apparent almost immediately that it was a non-survivable accident. You can't fall 300 feet at 100 plus miles per hour into an icy river and expect that there would be survivors.
The Metropolitan Police boat, the NPD boat, which you see right there.
That side of the boats is eerie. I mean, you knew that something was terribly wrong.
The divers and the others are looking, hoping that they're going to find someone in the water and get them onto a boat. That's the hope anyways.
With water temperatures around 35 degrees, that is something that really concerns us and makes the survivability of a situation like this that much more difficult.
Conditions out there are extremely rough for the responders. It's cold. They're dealing with relatively windy conditions. Wind is hard out on the river.
Plus, they're also diving into a river that now has thousands of gallons of jet fuel around them.
There's a lot of hidden debris in the Potomac River, a lot of old tree trunks, garbage, bicycles. I mean, there's a lot that is under the surface there of that water. So there are inherent dangers just entering the water, let alone searching in the dark and searching in these very frigid conditions for potential survivors.
It's a very difficult situation out there with the cold. It's very dark, but there are numerous boats out there. There are dive teams out there.
All hands on deck. You had multiple levels of fire and rescue crews on scene within minutes, but there was nothing they could do.
At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident.
Fatalities have been confirmed. Rescuers, we're hearing, have not pulled any survivors from the water. We're hearing the plane is in pieces. That is definitely heart-stopping information. Fatalities and no victims have been pulled from the water. Our thoughts and prayers are with those families. Many of them we know. are waiting at the airport, hoping for a miracle. We are too.
67 souls lost their lives on January 29th.
WTOP News. Facts matter.
I'm Dan Ronan. Thanks for joining us. I spoke with the former NTSB chairman who believes the Transportation Safety Agency is on track to update the public on the status of the midair collision at Reagan National Airport that killed 67 people a month ago. My name is Dan Ronan. I anchor over at WTOP. I specialize in aviation coverage. Specifically, I hold a commercial pilot's license, and I've been trained as a aviation safety investigator. I've been flying for 25 years.
A loss of life in an aviation accident is very unusual in the United States, and our heartfelt sorrow goes out to everyone that's affected. It affects us, it affects everyone around us. There are a lot of people hurting today. We will help find out what happened. We will do it factually, and we will do it accurately.
We've been unpeeling the layers of the onion now since that happened. The Blackhawk was on a routine training mission, and they do these type of missions pretty regularly. It's a continuity of government training mission to presumably get government officials out of Washington in the event that there's some sort of an emergency.
This particular flight was a check ride for the pilot flying the Blackhawk. Generally, a check ride is a practical exam that a pilot must pass to be qualified to perform specific aircrew or mission duties.
For reasons we don't know yet, the helicopter was higher than the altitude that it was supposed to be at. The corridor for helicopter corridor 4 says 200 feet.
The instructor pilot told the pilot flying that they were at 300 feet and needed to descend. The pilot flying said they would descend to 200 feet.
They might have had a problem with their altimeter setting. We don't know, but we'll find out in due course.
We are seeing conflicting information in the data, which is why we aren't releasing altitude for the Blackhawk's entire route.
There's a lot of helicopter traffic around this area. I mean, you've got EMS, fire EMS, police helicopters. You've got the Pentagon, which is just a couple miles away. You've got several military installations. So there's a lot of helicopter traffic around Reagan National. I can't begin to tell you how complex that airspace around Reagan National is. It is probably the most difficult and challenging airspace in the world. I mean, is challenging as it gets.
We remain concerned about the significant potential for a future midair collision at DCA, which is why we are recommending a permanent solution today.
NTSB Chair Jennifer Hamady said prior to the collision that took 67 lives, there were years of warnings.
The NTSB went through records from 2011 through 2024, finding an alarming number of incidents involving helicopters and commercial planes getting too close.
An alert that warns of a potential collision happen on average at least once a month.
Hamady says the FAA never fixed that issue.
They could have used that information any time to determine that we have a trend here and a problem here and looked at that route. That didn't occur. Which is why we're taking action today.
The NTSB made an emergency recommendation to permanently get rid of part of helicopter Route 4 over the Potomac anytime the airport is using two runways in which arriving planes would intersect with that chopper route.
Hamady says for years this allowed helicopters to have separation distances from planes of just 75 feet.
They pose an intolerable risk to aviation safety.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy responded.
If you go up 200 feet, you are only 75 feet away from a landing aircraft. So at best, we're in a situation where we're threading a needle.
Except for emergencies and flights by the president and vice president, Duffy agreed with the NTSB call to permanently ban helicopters from flying over the Potomac near the airport.
I want to thank you all.
Duffy had only been on the job one day when January's collision happened.
He joined the NTSB in questioning why, despite years of close calls, nothing was ever done before a tragedy happened.
How did the FAA not know? How did they not study the data to say, hey, this is a hot spot, we're having near misses, and if we don't change our way, we're going to lose lives?
The NTSB says in the 3 years leading up to the crash, there were, quote, close proximity events between planes and choppers more than 15,000 times.
Had the public known these statistics, the public would have avoided DCA, and they should have. 15,000 in 3 years is an outrage.
Mary Schiavo is an aviation attorney who used to be the Inspector General for the Department of Transportation. She says it was often very difficult to get the FAA to make needed changes, so the quick response by the DOT secretary was a positive sign.
The NTSB has hundreds of recommendations that fall on deaf ears, and all the NTSB can do is beg for action. But this prompt response saying, yes, we will not open that helicopter route and we will safeguard the traveling public, that was the right response. It's not a response we always hear from the FAA.
Did you see that?
Yep, we saw it.
67 souls lost their lives on January 29th.
This crash is almost certain to renew debate over safety at Reagan National, because last year, turns out as part of legislation to fund the FAA, Congress added 5 additional round-trip flights, and the decision came over the objection of the D.C. area congressional delegation, and that delegation has long argued that the airport is at capacity and adding more flights could compromise its ability to operate safely.
Just last year, these 2 senators from Virginia,
Senators Warner and Kane, said as the House and Senate work toward a final FAA reauthorization bill, we urge you to reject any proposal to add additional flights at an overburdened DCA.
Because there were efforts to increase the number of flights there.
Now, we also heard from 2 senators from Kansas, including one who lobbied to get this flight started.
I know that flight. I've flown it many times myself. I lobbied American Airlines to begin having a direct nonstop flight service to DCA. That flight has been in existence about a year.
It is a very desirable airport that people want to fly in and out of, because you can leave your office downtown and be at the gate and, if you time it right, in 25-30 minutes, which is great. But it's a challenging airport to get in and get out of.
We know it's a very narrow airspace. They have to nail the landing. They have to make it to that runway. There are 3 runways, but only one is likely active at a time, because you can see from this image how they intersect. Also unique about this airport, there are shorter runways. Pilots know how to navigate. This is something that they're familiar with when landing at DCA. There's just very little room for error when flying into such a crowded airspace.
I live in Old Town Alexandria, which is due south of Reagan National Airport. When I look out my window every day, there's not hardly a time that goes by that I don't see an airplane either coming in for landing when they're a lot lower or taking off when they're a lot louder.
I cannot tell you how many times I have seen larger planes abort landings. You see them coming in, and then all of a sudden they accelerate to get back up again.
So now we want to turn to I-Team investigative reporter Scott Taylor. Scott.
Yeah, we do know Reagan Airport has had near misses before. Let's take a look at what went down on the runways at DCA last year. Now, this happened in May. An American Airlines flight heading to Boston was cleared to take off on the main runway. At the same time, a private plane was cleared to land on a runway that crossed the main runway. Air traffic controllers tried to get the private plane to abort its landing, but its pilot told the tower, "I'm already on the ground." The tower was able to get the American Airlines plane to stop its takeoff. The collision avoided.
name is Pete Sepp. I'm president of National Taxpayers Union. There are important improvements to the overall air traffic control system that can help to increase safety as well as increase fiscal responsibility.
6 aviation industry leaders appeared before Congress addressing long-standing issues within the industry, including outdated federal systems.
It's not acceptable for controllers and technicians to have to work with paper strips and floppy disks to operate the national airspace system in the United States.
Staffing shortages.
The development of the TechOps staffing model over the course of a decade has revealed a significant shortfall of at least 800 employees.
And modernizing the current air traffic control centers across the entire country.
Fort Worth, Seattle, Kansas City, Memphis, and Indianapolis, to name a few. They're between 59 and 64 years old.
The FAA has been attempting to modernize the air traffic control system for decades, and some of the critical systems that still need to be modernized won't be fully deployed until 10, 12, even 15 years from now. By the time it is fully deployed, it'll probably be obsolete. Pilots and passengers would benefit from a modern air traffic control system that's user-funded while the FAA concentrates on safety regulation. It would not only be less expensive for the flying public, it would be better for pilots. They would have access to modern navigational tools. Their aircraft would get to where they need to go more quickly. They would have all kinds of benefits, and they're within our reach because other countries have done this. America should be able to do it.
Lawmakers expressing a desire to improve safety, but they did acknowledge budget constraints.
The agency is forced into the impossible predicament of having to dedicate vast amounts of money on simply sustaining old and outdated systems.
Several times we've attempted to reform our air traffic control system the way other countries have. In fact, in President Trump's first administration, there was an attempt to do this. And it turned out a powerful lobby of largely business jet owners said, "We're concerned that we may have to pay more under such a system that's user-funded," and they lobbied and got it killed in Congress. We've had very little progress, insufficient progress, toward the modernized system we need since the last time we tried air traffic control during President Trump's first term.
The D.C. Fire Chief this morning very succinctly said correctly that we believe there are no survivors.
Sadly, we learned 67 lives were lost. And it was a tough reality to really come to grips with.
Our investigators never want to see this happen again, and I never want to have to go back and brief another set of family like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Young skaters as well as coaches were on board that plane.
U.S. figure skating hosted a national development camp. It's basically a launch pad for the next generation of skaters who aspire to earn a spot on Team USA. Many of the people in the plane crash were returning home from that development camp in Wichita. Skaters, coaches, parents losing their lives in this tragedy.
Look at the ice skating sisters go. They're
Lydia and Everly were known as the Ice Skating Sisters.
How much fun do you have here with your sister?
A lot. It's really fun to have a sister to skate with.
I can't believe you guys are so good at skating already. When you get older, what do you want to do with skating?
Go to Disney on Ice.
Ooh, how about you?
I want to be in the Olympics.
Everly and Lydia's lives and their dreams were tragically cut short. They were traveling back from a skating competition in Wichita, Kansas with their parents, Donna and Peter, on American Airlines Flight 5342.
Tell me about the medals you've won from all your practice here at Reston Town Center.
A lot.
Their skating also inspired people to get in the Christmas spirit.
What do you girls want for Christmas?
A TV in my room.
A TV in your room is nice. How about you?
A vacation.
She got that vacation, according to their mother Donna's Facebook page. Last December, they visited Disney, perhaps their last family vacation together.
I don't know how. You look at people go through tragedies and you wonder, how do they do it? I don't know, but we're so strong. Somehow we have a reservoir to dig from, and each one of them are strong enough to get through this somehow. It will take time, but look beside you, there's somebody that cares, and I don't know, tell people around you that you love them because you just never know.
John Boyd, a youth hockey coach, was on board the American Airlines flight.
In a Facebook post, the club posted pictures of John Boyd and his family alongside his son Reed, writing, "John will be deeply missed by all who knew him."
This is Kia Duggins. Howard University says that she is a civil rights lawyer and was set to start a new chapter in her life as a professor at the law school this fall.
7 friends from Maryland who were on a hunting trip. One of them was Steve Johnson, who was also an avid fisherman.
28-year-old Samuel Lilly was the first officer on board Flight 5342.
Now, Lily's nephew shared that Lily was motivated to follow in his father's footsteps as a pilot.
His sister says he recently got engaged.
She's set to be married later this year. Certainly a very tough loss.
And on the right is flight attendant Ian Epstein.
We will go to Florida.
That comforting voice.
My name is Ian, everybody. I am your forward flight attendant.
Captured on cell phone video is that Ian Epstein, one of the flight attendants who lost his life aboard Flight 5342.
I think it has hit me harder than I ever expected it to. As well.
Elise Cruz recorded that back in September 2023 with her then toddler Walker on her lap.
I'm still, I think, a little bit in shock of just the magnitude of it all. After my son was born, he gave my son some extra special attention and love, and it was just really cool.
Elise got to know Ian in her travels to smaller regional airports across the country.
He just always had something good and fun to say. He and I bonded over loving our jobs. That's kind of my takeaway.
67 souls lost their lives on January 29th.
And loved ones are grieving.
This was a dark and excruciating night in our nation's capital and in our nation's history.
I think that part of our community will always be scarred by what happened.
It's a horrible, horrible tragedy, and your heart just stops.
I don't think I pass that area and not think about that day and look at the waters a little bit differently than how I did before.
It is an honor, it is a privilege to try and figure out who these people were and what their life meant to even one person.